What is going on, my people? Zuko back with another Dragonplay video. How are you all doing? I hope you are having a fantastic time in the Dragon Isles, running around with your new characters. If you've got to level 70, check out the video that I just did previous to this one, and I'll talk about all about level 70 activities you can get around to doing. I'm inside the Gladiator's Refuge right now. This is in Valdrakken, like I said in my last video, but this is where you can train your skills, okay, which is super cool. Somebody just followed on Twitch. So, what I want to talk about today, I just want to talk about Idol of SHAARJ. SHAARJ. I think it's Yes. Why am I doing an S? Oh, yeah, there's an S there. Why am I doing an S? SHAARJ. Somebody explain in the comments how I should say that. Type it out phonetically for me. I think it's SHAARJ. Anyway, this is a very, I think, underutilized and not understood very well Capstone. This is a very, like, ominous kind of Capstone for Shadow Priests that people don't really understand, and they definitely avoid. And I was having an absolutely amazing conversation in the YouTube comments on my last Shadow Priest video with Jeremy, I think. Let me just make sure I've got the right... let me make sure I've got the right person. Pretty sure it's Jeremy, yeah. So we had a really fantastic conversation. Jeremy Melanson. Sorry, I'm going to butcher that name, but he had a very interesting build. He actually gave me this build right here, which I think is fantastic, and it utilizes Idol of SHAARJ. I'm going to do a bigger video on this build in a dungeon. I actually have some footage I'll show you today. I'm going to talk about that entire build later. I just want to focus on Idol of SHAARJ right now because it's very interesting, and most people don't understand what it does. So here's what it does. Summoning your Mindbender will cause you to gain a benefit based on the target's current state, okay? Or increase Mindbender's duration by 5 seconds if no state matches. We'll talk about that in a second. So healthy. This means the enemy is above 80% of their maximum health. They're at 80% HP or higher when you summon the Mindbender on them. Remember, it always matters about the target. The status of the target will determine what buff you get. So if the target's at 80% or higher, you get healthy, which means you and your Mindbender do 5% more damage. That's really good. That includes all your damage, and it includes Mindbender's auto attacks, as well as the Mindbender inescapable torment damage. Okay? Which is very good. So that's actually fine. The 5% bonus is actually kind of fine, because in your... basically all of your damage in this particular build, this is a Dark Ascension build, you match up Dark Ascension with Mindbender. This build is all about that 1 minute cooldown. It's all about that 1 minute window where you pop these two cooldowns and you go ham on a pack and you annihilate it. And if you get 5% more damage, that's actually kind of okay. Enraged. If the enemy is enraged when you summon the Mindbender on them, the Mindbender will eat the enrage and give you 5% haste, which is actually kind of cool. It's much less like likely to happen. Like there are lots of bosses that and enemies I've seen in the dungeon so far that have been enraged, but I'm not going to save my Mindbender just to get rid of the enraged unless it was extremely critical. But likely you're not going to utilize it that way. So let's just skip over the enraged one. Stunned. If the enemy is stunned when you cast Mindbender on them, it generates 5 insanity per second, which is really good because Mindbender generates 3 insanity each time he attacks. So it's like 8 insanity basically every second and a half kind of thing. Really, really crazy. You're going to say, well, Zuko, how are we going to guarantee that the enemy is going to be stunned? Well, we have Psychic Horror. Now, I don't know if you're going to want to take Psychic Horror to get that stun because that means you're losing damage on the tree. Realistically, you're never going to take Psychic Horror, unfortunately. This really should be in the class side. It should be like in the bottom of the shadow side of the class side, and it should be difficult to reach because then it would mean that like Holy and Discipline would have to pay a big price to go over and get it, but Shadow could kind of get it for free because it's a very Shadow thing. So this is a way to guarantee that the stunned effect goes up because this is a 4-second stun, but realistically, I don't think you're going to take this. I think you could. It's a very, very good stun for Mythic Plus, and I've considered taking it, but I'm going to lose some damage if I do so. So that's a little bit kind of, not really sure about that one. But the last one here says, Feared. You and the Mindbender deal 15% increased damage and do not break fear effects. This is insane. So you can pop this essentially by pressing, obviously, Psychic Scream. And I'll show you it right now. I think Psychic Scream will work on this buff. If I pop Psychic Scream here, they're all feared. Then I summon my Mindbender. You can see we both have 15% more damage in the top here. Devoured, Fear. Your spells and abilities do not break fear, and you deal 15% increased damage. So that means both of us are dealing 15% increased damage. That's kind of insane, but pulling this off in a dungeon, again, can be kind of difficult because you don't want to fear all the enemies away from your big AoE clump that the tank has just spent the last 30 seconds trying to get together. You kind of want them to stay clumped up so you can do lots of AoE damage. So not to say that, like, you could fear enemies and it'll break the fear in like a second if everybody's doing AoE damage. So I don't know that the fear one is actually that bad. I think you could realistically pull it off all the time in Mythic Plus, and I think that it's probably the second best option on here. Getting 15% increased damage during your Mindbender / Dark Ascension window is outrageously good. So I do think that the fear one is pretty good. The final one that we kind of skipped over at the beginning, and it's not sort of noticeable right away, is to say summoning a Mindbender causes you to gain a benefit of the target's current state, or increase Mindbender's duration by 5 seconds if no state matches. So you want me to think, well, Zuko, what does that mean? Like, no state matches. What does the state of the enemy have to be in order to get the 5-second extra uptime on Mindbender? Well, I'm glad you asked. The state that the enemy has to be in is that they need to be below 80% of their maximum health. As long as they're below 80% of their maximum health and don't have an enrage effect and aren't stunned and aren't feared, those 3 extra things also have to apply. So they're not feared, not stunned, not enraged. They're below 80% of their maximum health. Then you'll get this benefit. Now, that might sound kind of like a laundry list of, like, qualifiers, but realistically, you can pull this off fairly frequently because people aren't just throwing out random fears and stuns all the time, and most enemies in the game aren't enraged. So what does this mean? It means when you summon your Mindbender, it's up for 20 seconds right off the bat. It's up for 20 seconds. That is insane. That is a long time. And of course, with Inescapable Torment, we are extending our Mindbender by 1 second every time we use Shadow or Death, every time we use Mind Blast. So you can take this Mindbender from a 20-second cooldown, 20-second duration, up to, like, at bare minimum, probably a 30-second full duration. Like, it's going to be ticking down, but you're going to be fighting it, right? So realistically, I think you could get your Mindbender up for 30 seconds every minute. Every minute you'll have Dark Ascension and you'll have Mindbender, and you can keep Mindbender up for probably 30 seconds, which is insanely good. It's going to give you Insanity when he's there. He's going to do lots of auto attack damage, and he's going to do crazy Inescapable Torment damage because you're pressing Mind Blast. You're pressing Shadow or Death. You're getting resets on Shadow or Death. You're getting procs from Death Speaker on Shadow or Death. All of your Mind Blast and Shadow or Death damage is cleaving to nearby enemies. Very cool. Let me show you what this looks like. So this guy's below 80% max health. Okay, we're going to tag him with a dot. You can see he's below 80%. I'm going to pop Mindbender. Boom. There's Mindbender. 20 seconds on the clock. We're going to go. We're going. Let's try and keep him up. Let's see how long we can keep this guy up. Okay? Let's pop Dark Ascension. I forgot to pop Dark Ascension. Here's where all our damage comes from. I'm an idiot. So, 12 seconds on Mindbender. There's a proc on Mind Blast. Keep Mind Blasting to keep him up. Let's keep him up. Let's keep him up. Let's keep him up. Gotta just probably do current here. Okay, we got Mind Blast coming back into Shadow or Death to keep up our Mindbender again. Now our Mindbender is going to... Another Shadow or Death to keep our Mindbender up. We got a Mind Blast proc. Let's keep him up a little bit more. A little bit more. Oh, he fell off. Okay, so look at the damage of Inescapable Torment. This is what happens with this build. I didn't even do it correctly there. I just kind of messed it up. But when you pop Dark Ascension and Mindbender at the same time, they're both a 1-minute cooldown, you get... This is the result. Your Mindbender... His Inescapable Torment did 15.6%. His melee did 11%. That's 27% of our damage is wrapped up in Mindbender. And guess what? He was up for... Where is he? What's his uptime? Doesn't even say. 26 times. I wish it would show it here. I can't say what he was up for. But 40 seconds, I'm guessing he was up for almost the entire time. He was up for the entire time. I left, actually. I left at the very end of the fight when he disappeared. So he was up for 40 seconds. That's what you can do. We had him up for 40 seconds, and he did 27% of our damage. So that's not even accounting for the fact that this was single target, guys. This was single target. So Inescapable Torment is going to do up to 5 nearby enemies. So this is going to do way more damage for you. This is kind of how Idol of SHAARJ can be valuable as a capstone at the bottom here. A lot of people are kind of sleeping on this thing, I think, because realistically, you can pull this thing off fairly easily once you get the hang of it. This is, I think, the biggest problem with this thing is the barrier to entry, that you really do need to like monitor the health bars of the enemy to say, okay, is this guy within the range of my Mindbender? Yes. Okay, now I'm going to cast it. Now I'm going to go. Now I'm going, you know? Or, you know, you could be setting up your dots on the enemies and you see that one of the enemies is already below 80% health. And so you tab target to him and pop Mindbender on that one enemy, and you'll get your buff, and you can go. Remember, your Mindbender gives you a buff based on which enemy, just the one single enemy that you summon it on. Whatever is affecting that particular enemy is what buff you'll be given. So if the entire group is at 100% HP, but there's one mob that's at 70% HP, pop your Mindbender over there, and then you get the 20-second duration instead of 15. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think there's some really cool flexibility with Idol of SHAARJ. For example, the Feared one is actually pretty good, where you can just run in, pop your Psychic Scream, and then pop Mindbender, and then go. You're doing 15% more damage. Go, 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 go. Get into your Dark Ascension window and go. The other reason that you run Dark Ascension with this build, and I'm not going to talk too much more about it, but the reason you run Dark Ascension is because it buffs all the damage that Mindbender does. The Inescapable Torment damage is not dot damage. It's just straight up shadow damage. So your Dark Ascension is giving your Mindbender 25% more damage with those slashes. Slash, slash, slash. And he's up for longer. Your Shadow Word Deaths are benefiting from Dark Ascension. Your Mind Blasts are benefiting from Dark Ascension. Your Psychic Link damage is benefiting from Dark Ascension. It all kind of works together in a beautiful little combo there. I don't even know where. Oh, there were no extra targets. So let me show you this right here. I'm going to pop my Mindbender over here for a second, and then I'm going to move him over here to these guys. So we're going to start with a dot, and then we're going to go Mindbender. There we go. Okay, now we've got our Mindbender's going, and he's up for 20 seconds. Here we go. I shouldn't have. I did that all wrong. That's my bad. All my single target shadow damage is getting buffed like crazy, okay? Mindbender's still up. 9 seconds on Mindbender. Let's Mind Blast, Mind Blast, Mind Sear. Mind Blast, Mind Sear. Mind Blast is coming. We're going to press it. Okay, and then Shadow Word Death. So you can see we got the 20-second duration from Mindbender. How long was that fight? That little fight was 32 seconds, okay? So, oh no, that was about 34 seconds. So we had Mindbender up for 34 seconds there. Look at the damage that came out from that. Look at the Psychic Link damage. Look at the Inescapable Torment damage. This is insane, right? Mindbender did 20% of our damage. And then Psychic Link obviously buffed a bunch of the rest of it. But I started the fight on the one mob that I knew I was going to get my buff from. I tagged it. Boom. 20-second Mindbender. And then you zip teleport your Mindbender over to the AOE pack that you're trying to kill. I mean, in a realistic scenario, you're going to be fighting an AOE pack that's all together. Just find the enemy that has less than 80% health, and you'll get the 20-second duration. I think the 20-second duration is the best outcome for Idol of SHAARJ. I think the Fear one is the second best one. So they're both very, very good. But this is a very interesting Capstone node, and I want to hear what you guys think about it in the comments down below. Have you tried this at all? Again, the huge, huge shout out to Jeremy Melanson in the YouTube comments for showing me this build. I'm going to do a full video on this build in a minute. I know I said I was going to show some footage from dungeons today, but that's not really what we were about. I'll show the footage in the next video when I actually showcase this build in a real dungeon, because there's some really cool clips there. But for now, let me know what you guys think about Idol of SHAARJ, because I think that SHAARJ, now I'm talking like a pirate. What is wrong with me? SHAARJ. Let me know what you think about Idol of SHAARJ. I think it's actually very interesting, and I think that it might be a lot better than people might think. I haven't seen anybody talking about it. I think it's people are kind of sleeping on it a little bit, but I think it could be really good with this real emphasis on Mindbender. And again, you have to take the other talents that support it, like Death Speaker and Pain and Death, because you're getting resets on Shadow Word Death. That extends Mindbender even more. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you all. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.